And we are live. Welcome. Let me see what I got here. Can you see and hear me? And then we will get rolling. I'll wait. Can you see and hear me? Yes. Type in there. There. Cool. All right. Welcome, Tammy. So fire away with any questions you have. Remind me, week 8, 9, even you're getting toward the downhill of the program. So now we're going to start focusing potentially on the short term after the 12 weeks, week 9. Okay, yeah. So you might have some questions. If not, I can speak to it. The crunch time of this program, because again, once the 12 weeks are up, then I've said this before, you get all the free time that you were devoting to these kinds of things, and now it's free. So never underestimate how quickly old habits can populate free time if left unchecked. So in other words, you open up this free time and think, well, now I've got free time. It gets filled. It gets filled. This is why it's the reason why email never saved us any time. It just allowed us to stuff more stuff into time. It takes shorter to write emails, so we can do more emails per time. It's not like we do the same amount of correspondence and then have all this time to think about things and relax and paint pictures. We just filled the time more. Well, that's what happens. Vacuums get filled. And so the important thing is in the first few weeks to be over diligent, over careful with the tools that you already have in your arsenal already. Things like leaving notes around, putting alarms on your phone, having the physical steps list in your pocket. This is absolutely crucial, especially in the first few weeks, because you don't have the structure of a program, an email coming into your inbox that reminds you that you're even doing this thing. And so having that there, meaning set an alarm on your phone that goes off at 7 a.m. or whenever that email comes in at 8 Pacific, so whatever time that is, that goes off and says, small stepper, just, oh yeah, I'm a small stepper. The only step I've ever suggested to clients when I was working with private clients, was to text me first thing in the morning. Get up, text me up or awake, something. I needed a little moment of awareness for them to remember that they were doing this now. They were taking on their lives in a very different way. And if you are not diligent about that, the old ways come back, much like finishing a diet. If you don't have the tools to continue, the old way of eating is going to come right back in, because it's preloaded, it has more years under its belt. It's a stronger habit because it's been around longer, frankly. So you got to figure out how to muscle through to get these things as the veteran habits in your life, the way that the old habits were. You've got to replace the old ones with this new stuff. You got to stick with it long enough for them to become habits too. So, the alarm on your phone, something first time in the morning, and it was highly effective. But I also will say that I don't have the numbers on this, but a good amount of clients would forget to text me first thing in the morning. Life is that crazy. Not necessarily in a bad way. Maybe they get up and they're taking a run and doing all this amazing stuff. I don't know. But the literally 3 seconds to text up, the word up, couldn't get that done. So everybody who thinks, well, I don't have time, it's like, well, that's not a time issue. It is an awareness issue. As is most everything in the healthy living arena, it's an awareness issue. It's not a knowledge issue. It's an awareness issue. It's like, do you have moments where you're aware during the day? How many of those? Enough to get you to live the way you want to live most of the time, or not enough so you're going on autopilot a little too much and therefore falling back to the old habits. So small steppers, I would say above all else, is infusing awareness first by defining who you are, being aware of who you are. With the second task, being aware of places where you can maybe minimize the thinking about one area, mostly food, so that you can kind of broaden out into other areas. Stealing moments, becoming aware, playing the me, not me game, becoming aware of your own habits, aware of the things that aren't actually you and the things that are, and therefore you can move over time to more things that are you. This is an awareness game. I find it effective because you don't have to throw your life on hold to go to a 12-week, retreat. This is doing and living at the same time, kind of like it's necessary to do forever. This is the thing. It mocks real life in a way, because real life isn't about putting yourself on hold, your life on hold, and telling your family, I'll see you 6 months out of every year. No, this is about being able to live a happy life in the middle of life, in the middle of a job and family and everything else that we battle with, in a good way. But that's what living well is. You can't put things on hold and say, well, I'm going to eat well, but at the expense of everything else in my life. No, we got to figure out, we want most of us how to figure out how to live well in the same context. We can all go throw everything out and go live in the wild, in the forest, and eat a lot healthier, but that's not what we're doing. So we've got to figure out how to do this in the context of our work and our lives, and eke out a healthy life in that context. That makes this even harder than chucking it all and going on a 10-day silent meditation retreat. That's easy. How do you build meditation and awareness in life? How do you do that in life? That's hard. That's the difficult thing. Checking out is easy. Engaging is difficult. So we know that struggle. We have a solution to that struggle, which is a steps list, little moments, getting the practice of finding moments to take a deep breath, to think about things. And we just have to make sure that as people get past this 12 weeks, that they are aware of the difficulty that's potentially going to occur on day 85, after the 84 days of this program, where all of a sudden the email doesn't come in your inbox. Well, how do you remind yourself? That's your job. That's why I cut people off after 12 weeks, because if you don't have that last little piece of the puzzle, which is how do you do this on your own, then you're tied to me and you're tied to a program that you don't need. And that is the opposite of what I envision Small Steppers to be, which is train you just enough and then you go live your life. And you acknowledge that there's a struggle, and that's good, because you start earning all the things that you want. Okay, good, but I should be not in that picture at all. The best case scenario for me is an email 3 years later saying, yeah, still working great, good, done. But no tie to, what do I do now? I don't want, what do I do now? 12 weeks, you're done. Go live your life. You know enough. You don't need me. But be aware that it is hard for anybody, for me, for everybody. It's hard to be healthy and happy in a world where the marketing and the flashiness of advertising and the things that are least healthy are the cheapest in the food realm. It's hard. It's a struggle. How do we win? Becoming more aware. That's how we win. We win because we see an ad and we go, I'm not falling for that anymore. That quick fix, did that already, not doing it anymore. What is that? You being aware of who you are. That's it. It's very simple, but hard to get to know. I'm wiping off my table. That's also very hard. Okay. Questions, give it to me. That's my diatribe. Give it to me. What do you got? What do you got for me? Any questions on a very practical level? Because I know that with your first task, I'm familiar with you, and I just don't. There's more people in the program, but they're not coming to the Q&A, so that's how that goes. But maybe they're watching the archives, I hope. What are we talking about? I got a nice email from a guy who had finished the program, and 6 months later, he said, I wanted to email you 6 months after the program. He's still doing it. Different levels. He's still doing it. He's like working. He goes, I wanted to email you. I'm still thinking about things. It's changed the way I do things, changed the way I'm living my life. I mean, that's massive. And that's only 6 months. 9, if you factor in the 12 weeks of the program, 9 months out of an entire life, drop in the bucket. So pretty cool. I like hearing that a lot, especially it wasn't like the end of the 12 weeks going, that was, whatever. Like, I want to know long-term, how is this bearing out? How is this bearing out in your life long-term? Okay. So, Tammy, let me know if you got any questions that I can help you with. Type away. Can you quickly explain heavy versus light box again from this week's video? Sure. So I'm going to apply this to 2 types of nutrition, which I did in my book, which is physical nutrition and mental nutrition. So these are the things that we feed ourselves. We feed our minds, we feed our bodies. But I'll stick with the food realm because that's what I mostly talk about in that video. And it's simply my approach to nutrition and the way that I teach people is to 2 things: not to micromanage your own nutrition. It is unnecessary for us to memorize every vitamin and every mineral and measure, count, and weigh stuff. It's absolutely not necessary. And not only that, it's actually counter to living well, in my opinion. Okay. 2, it's to change the way people even think about food in the first place. So the light box, heavy box explanation, the way I explain healthy food, is simply so that people have their eye on what actually defines health. What is it in food that makes it healthy? Is it the calories? No, because Twinkies have calories and a cucumber has calories. Calories are just what defines food. If it's food, it has calories. If it's food for us, it means when we eat it, we get energy from it. That's it. That's the baseline definition of food, whether it's healthy or not. What makes food healthy or not, the difference between the Twinkie and the cucumber, is not protein, carbohydrate, and fat. That's calories. It's not that, because both have protein, carbohydrate, and fat. Actually, all three, both of those actually do. Okay, so they do. It's not that. It's that there's other stuff that comes in the cucumber that doesn't come in the Twinkie. Not the calories. They both have calories. What comes in the cucumber that there's almost zero of in the Twinkie are things like vitamins and minerals and phytochemicals and antioxidants and fiber and water. Those are the things that come in a cucumber. That's what defines a healthy food. If it has a good significant quantity of those things, not calories, the things that come with the calories, it's healthy. If it doesn't, it's not. So the light box, heavy box was simply a way to visualize a box, that a present, and every present you get has wrapping paper. That's just sort of, every present has wrapping paper, whether it's a good gift or a really crappy gift, it has wrapping paper. So the mental part of that is, okay, well, the wrapping paper is the calories, because a present has wrapping paper. So that's what that is. It just has calories, fine. But when we get a gift, we don't sit there and admire the wrapping paper and then say, we're done. We unwrap it. We want to know what's inside the box, because that's where the value lies. Okay, so there's the thinking of it. It's like wrapping paper, protein, carbohydrates, and fat, wrapping paper. Okay, fine. But unwrap it, because I want to know what's inside the box, because the value, no matter how nice that wrapping paper looks, the value of the gift is what's inside the box. That's it. So when we open the box, we either see not much in the case of a Twinkie, or we see a ton in the case of a cucumber. That's the light box versus heavy box. That is the defining factor of food, not the calories, not the wrapping paper of the gift, but what's inside the box. So the heavier the box, the more substantial of things in that box, the healthier the food. Starts with the refined plants like white sugar, white flour, oil, protein powder, all junk food. It's junk food. All has calories. We can all run off that. It's fuel, it's gas. But if we run off this entirely, we're unhealthy, period. You can eat a Big Mac and get all the protein, fat, and carbohydrate you could ever need, and you will be unhealthy. Not because of the protein, fat, and carbohydrate. You're going to be unhealthy because it's missing the things that help the machine run well, which is the vitamins, minerals, the non-caloric stuff. I just want your brain focused on the non-caloric stuff, because that's what people are missing. The conversation about food in the modern world is about protein, fat, and carbohydrate almost entirely, and it's an irrelevant discussion because everybody gets enough protein, fat, and carbohydrate. What people aren't getting enough of are the things that come with or not. In the case of a Big Mac, no. In the case of an orange or a banana, yes. You've got all the calories and then a substantial amount of micronutrients too: vitamins, minerals, phytochemicals, antioxidants, fiber, and water. Okay, so when it comes to mental nutrition, really the same thing happens. You've got two books, and the definition of a book has cover and words inside in a story, let's say. But one can be substantial and one can be not substantial. One can be more junky, Daniel Steele, and there's no like, these are bad. Look, I was just reading because I reread my daily emails that come through this program just to make sure they're still on point and, edit and change as they go. And the one I read this morning was about this very thing, which is we all need breaks. I love mindless entertainment. It doesn't serve me when I find myself, this is just me, doing mindless entertainment all the time. If I'm reading dumb novels, it's not enriching in the way that it is when I read, something more substantial. Likewise, if I'm always doing the substantial, that can be kind of a bummer too, because sometimes I just need a break. Same thing with food. Eat healthy most of the time, and then pop down with some treats now and then. It's up to you on that, whatever that balance is. But for me, it kind of works. I'm doing most of the time heavy box, light box, kicking in once in a while, just for fun, pure fun. No guilt, no shame about it, because I've got a good solid core of substantial nutrition, mental and physical. So in terms of mental nutrition, podcasts and, music and reading decent, good books and watching films, good movies, and then balance that out with a little bit of treat, a little bit of the news, The stuff that kind of is a bummer, but we want to know about it, but we can tell when it's kind of gone overboard. Social media, definitely Lightbox entertainment. Fine, do it. But when you're on social media all the time, it's soul sucking. Sorry, but it is. As kids are doing more social media, more disconnected physically from other people, the rates of suicide and depression are on the rise in adults and kids. It's happening because we're all about social media and not about actual socializing. So I want to highlight the separation between heavy box nutrition, what we're feeding ourselves. Is there enough substance? Is there enough of what defines something as being healthy mentally and physically in what we're consuming? If not, then we need to tip the scales. A little less of this stuff, a little more of this stuff. That's it. That's what the message is. It isn't to go militant. It isn't to go heavy box all the time and sit there on a pedestal and read Dostoevsky all the time. You're going to be bad off just in the way that if you're going to be eating militantly healthy food and you can't go to a party because there's something less than healthy there. You're going to be bad off in that model too, most likely. The question is, what balance can you strike with that? The answer is, you got to figure it out. The further answer is, you do that by becoming, guess what? More aware. That's how you know what's working for you, and you have the honesty now after being in Small Steppers, and maybe you had it before, I don't know, but this definitely helps. The honesty of saying, this isn't actually serving me. I'm aware of that. I'm not a bad person. I'm battling through the life the way that everybody battles through life. This is gnarly in this modern world. But I can be honest now to say, this actually isn't me. I'm going to pick up a book because I feel better doing it. And then when I jump on social media, I don't feel guilty about it because I did something of substance as well. Same thing with food. So and everything else. So it's kind of like, that's the balance there. It's like, ask yourself the heavy box, light box nutrition question now and then. How's my light box to heavy box proportion? Am I way more light box in it? Okay, well, there's going to be a result, a consequence to that proportion. If you do more light box, less heavy box, a consequence. If you do more heavy box and light box, a consequence. There's a consequence to all these actions. The question is, which consequence do you want? What's the result you want in your life? If you want your life to be more fulfilling, you want to have more energy, you want to be more productive, you want to be more adventurous, you want to be more seeing friends and doing things, then you're going to definitely want to tip to the heavy box spectrum of physical nutrition and mental nutrition. That's simple. If you're like, screw it, I just want to sit on the couch and watch whatever, do that too. There's no judgment here. It's just, I want people to have an answer if they want an answer. That's it. That's it. Okay. I hope that helped. And notice how, by the way, I left that till like week 9. I mean, this is like, I got to get the groundwork done. Was very intentional in the way that I did this in week 9 because people want to they know I'm a nutritionist, so they want to have a discussion about food in week 1. Well, I don't want to have a food discussion about week 1. Be in here for a couple months. Hang out, get to know yourself, get some answers about the life you want to live. One of those answers is going to be how you eat, probably. Okay, I want to eat this way. Good to know. Okay, now, week 9, here's a little lesson about actual food. But if I do that week 1, then everyone goes, okay, this is what they hear for the rest of the 11 weeks. Boo, because now now they're all about food. And that's a bad answer for me. I mean, it's a bad solution because I've just set you up with no tools whatsoever to eat a so-called healthy diet, and you're going to be more stressed doing it. So I kicked the can down the road, did this with every client I ever had who came to me for food, weight loss and this and that. I said, we'll talk about food later. It's like, what? No, we'll talk about food later. We're not there yet. I always say, we're not there yet. We're not there yet. Let's have a discussion about the life you want to live and the part that food plays in it. Okay, now, are you ready? You got the answers? Okay, good. Okay, now here's the lesson about food. But now you're ready to hear it and you know what to do with it. You know not to go too far too fast and get overwhelmed and then feel like a failure when you burn out. Now you have tools to continue with that knowledge. Okay, good. You got to have the tools first, then have the knowledge, and then you can implement. You know exactly how to implement. And Tammy, you're in week 9. You've got it. And you got 3 more weeks. That's a good amount of time. But this is the thinking. In the protection of this program and the emails coming to you every day, the emails saying live Q&A, you're in it. But start just moments to think, okay, after 12 weeks, what's my game plan? What are the things I want to continue? What are the steps I want on my list? I highly advise you not going too much to say, well, now I have an hour free every week. I'm going to fill that hour with new steps. Careful, because again, be aware of your overwhelm, aware of, but like, after 12 weeks, I'm going to start bringing in a step of this, one little step, even though I have extra time, but I'm not going to fill it all just yet, but I am going to fill it with a couple little things. I'm going to fill it with 5 more deep breaths throughout the day, an alarm on my phone that goes off every hour that says, take a deep breath. That I can do. I'm going to do that. Or an extra 5-minute walk before dinner, just little things that kind of start knocking in. And over the first few weeks, notes and alarms and steps lists in your pocket, very, very important. Like the first 3 weeks, very, very important. You're going to be set out on your own, like you will be for the rest of your life. But the first 3 weeks of like, okay, now you are a small stepper. So after 12 weeks, you're like, I'm a small stepper. This is how I do things. If I am feeling stagnant and want to ramp something up because I want it fast, ramp it up, because now you have a context. You can do a ton. People are like, oh my God, she's doing a lot. But to you, it's a small step because you are aware of your own stress levels. And if you take on too much, you back it back down. You don't quit it. You don't burn out. You go, whoops, okay, fine. I took on too much. Fine, I'll back that back down. And you know exactly how to handle it when it comes. People don't know how to handle that. They burn out. And then they feel like, I'm a yo-yo dieter. Well, you're not a yo-yo dieter anymore. That's you're a small stepper. If you think you can change your diet overnight and not be super stressed by it, change your diet overnight. Change your diet overnight. Literally change your diet overnight. And maybe that's perfect for you because you're aware of everything else that's going on in your life. And you go, yes, I can make this happen. There's no problem. I'm not that stressed by it. It's a little bit of stress, not too much, not too little. I'm all good. People go, well, that's not a small step. Yes, it is in here. You're not perceiving it as this gigantic, huge change that you had to put everything else on hold. You're perceiving it as, yeah, I can do that. It's fine. So it's about you, not about everybody else's perceptions of what you're doing. You can do big steps going forward. Last thing I want is somebody out after the 12 weeks is to think, this is really snail's pace, everything. It does not have to be, it shouldn't be a snail's pace. It should be the right pace for you to bring in new habits. That can be a lot, look like a lot to some people and look like very little to other people. That depends on you and your life. I can't answer that for you. I want to give you the tools to answer it for yourself. That's it. So if you're ready to start running 5 miles out of the chute on day, after the 12 weeks, run 5 miles out of the chute. Worst case, you go, well, okay, did that. That's too much. I'll go back down to 1 mile. Then in a few weeks, I'll be up to 5. Good. Or whatever, right? Whatever. Okay. Freedom. You have freedom to put whatever you want on the table, but you're way more knowledgeable now than you were 9 weeks ago about what you think is a good starting point for any kind of given step. That's it. Okay. What else? Anything else I can do for you? And what I have to look forward to today is taking all the trash from the race that I direct to the dump site. So that's what's fun for me on a Sunday. Okay, here we go. Let me post this. In getting to know myself in the career professional realm, I know that I have made a career out of change. I know that I have made a career out of changing careers. I like to change, so I'm not sure how to approach this part of my life in the small steps to answer who I am. I work at this place doing this thing. To me, I think it's awesome when you say, I like to change. There's no, again, I can't stress this enough. There's no rules in the first task. It's only how do you envision your life. If you were living the perfect life, Tammy, would it be that in the first task, Tammy, I would say to clients, I was like, if you were my client when I was working privately, I'd say, what would first task Tammy do? That's this bracelet I wear. What would I do? Because the question, WWID, because the question is, well, what would I do? If in your first task you write down, I change careers every 2 years to keep things exciting, boom. You may not ever get there, but at least that's good to know. But if you go, no, I actually don't like changing careers every 2 years, like that's kind of like yo-yo dieting. Then in your first task, you say, I love my job and I've been there for 10 years and I love it and I have no plans on changing what it is. And you may not even be able to define that job yet, but you know that if you found something that you loved, you'd want to stay with it. So that's a question you have to ask yourself. What is it that you want to do career-wise? Do you want to keep changing careers? I did. I've changed careers 4 times since I've been a working adult, maybe more. I did crazy shit. I don't have excuse my language. I don't have one thing. That's a kind of, my dad worked for one company for 27 years. Totally not what I did. My wife has had 7 jobs. Like in the first 5 years of our marriage, I think she changed jobs 5 times. Then she found something she loved. And then has continued with that sense. So there's no rules about that. It's just only how do you see yourself? And then when you come back into real life, you say, okay, am I close to that or am I pretty far away? Let me small step into that. And the small stepping into that could be researching other careers, because maybe you don't know what you want to do yet. Maybe you haven't found the thing that you're passionate about. Fine. Good to know. You want to find something. There you go. Small steps. Small step into researching. Small step into taking an online course. Small step into talking to people, calling other professionals, finding out what is done and not done. I mean, I went back to school to become a nutritionist. Had no business or I had read books on it. No prior training. Was a philosophy major, for crying out loud. Was an indie rock musician. Then I was an actor. Like, no background of like, oh yeah, I can see how he finally went into nutrition. No, it was like, this sounds amazing, and I'm passionate about it, and I find myself reading books about it. I think I'll go back to school, researching schools, finding something I could do without having to leave my family and do correspondence for a year and a half. Done. And maybe I finished it and thought, this isn't fun, and then I would quit that and find something else to do. I went to school years ago to become a bartender. So maybe I'll bartend at night. Didn't really like it that much. Fine. Everything's on the table. So sometimes we think, like, especially as we get to adults, that we're somehow trapped, or that our lives are laid out for us now, that we're sort of there. I talked about this guy in my podcast recently. He's like 50, he's a little older than I. He's like 51 or 52. Lawyer up until now, and he went back to chefing school, and he wants to be a chef at 52. It's a completely 180 of his life. That's amazing. I mean, amazing. Now, he can do it. They don't have kids. He and his wife both work. Like, they're set up. They kind of been working their whole lives. Maybe they have some money in the bank. I don't know. But it's working, and he wants to do that. So again, the context declares that he can do that. For some people, they can't change a job that much. Maybe that's his small step. But for other people, it's working at night or working on weekends, or, I think you were the small business kind of person, like maybe taking on one or two private clients that you can do and your full-time job that you have, because you can't afford to quit your job, and seeing what develops out of that. Making plans to save money starting now, so that you have a little time, potentially a year down the line or 2 years down the line, to actually quit your job if that's what you want and start a business or whatever. I mean, this is how cool this can be. I'm not advising you to do one thing or the other, just to be clear. I'm not saying go quit your job. I'm saying I want you to be happy. That's what I'm saying. I want you to be happy. And the way you can be happy is not by doing what anybody tells you to do. The way to be happy is to know who you are and get closer to that person over time. That's how you become happy. And by the way, healthy too. So as and I like the way you said, in getting to know myself. You don't know yourself 100%. Neither do I. This is a constant practice of getting to know yourself. The way you do that, broken record Sid today, is becoming more aware during the day. And, visiting your first task, rereading it now and then, looking at your steps list, see what your direction is, see where you want to go, and then making steps to do that. That's it. It's pretty simple stuff, again, but it's all about the implementation. So this is very exciting stuff. Very exciting stuff. How you approach this part of my life in the small steps, is to define it in the first task. And again, if you don't know what the actual job is, you say, I am passionate about my job and I love it. And I go to work every day happy. And even when it's stressful at work, I'm okay, because I know that it's important to me, my job. It makes a difference positively in the world. Again, these are not your words. I'm just saying hypothetically, whatever. I help underprivileged people. And maybe you don't define it even farther than that. You don't know yet, but you know that in general, this is the kind of ethic. I help small businesses, or I help people realize their dreams, or whatever. And you can be very general, and you kind of define this sort of ethic of the job you want without actually saying, and the job is this. You don't know that yet. That's okay. But so when you know the framework of the job and the ethic of the job and the value of the job, then as you small step into researching jobs, you very quickly go like, that job does not fit with my ethic. That job does not yield the solution and the reality that I want, which is to make a positive change to help people who are underprivileged. I don't know if that is, but this job doesn't do that thing. Okay. Bartending, probably a good example. Like, I knew that I wanted to make a difference in people. Musically, I felt like I was making a difference for people. Acting, somewhat. But music for sure, like, enriching people who like my music anyway. And nutrition totally has that same ethic, right? Completely different careers, music and being a nutritionist, health coach, but an effect of making people happier. I mean, that's one of the things that's fulfilling about the job I do now and that job before, which was connecting with people and talking with people and relating to people, and in theory, affecting people's lives positively. That's something that is important to me. But if nutrition is something that I stop liking, I'll find something else that does that same thing. So and I don't know what that could be. I don't know. Who knows? But that could be that thing. And so that's the exciting part of this. Define what you stand for. That's value-based. Then you can define the particulars of what applies to those values. That's all. All right. Anything else? What can I do? Any other questions? Or let me know if you're good. Either way. Anything else? I'm just hanging. Just hanging. Any other questions? That's helpful. I still have 4 steps. Okay. 4 steps, and you're doing them daily. So cool. So cool. You're setting yourself up. You're setting yourself up. One thing I love is that it's only 4. Sorry, but I think it's great because you're still in this program. So 4, and also that it's actually 4, because that's amazing too. So if you're doing them daily or most days and you miss a day, whoop-de-doo, then you are well on your way. You know, if you're keeping a steps list, you know what's going on. For not, that's working for me, so I'm not ready to add things that don't make sense. I think I got what you guys. So I'm not ready to add things that don't make sense. Yeah, for sure. For you, that's working. That's perfect. I mean, I got it. For now, that's working for me. Exactly. And so Tammy, just be aware, like, I might even recommend in the first few weeks keeping it at 4, even though you'll feel like I can do more. I have more time. Just take a few deep breaths, a couple weeks get used to not getting the emails, get used to not doing the live Q&As, get settled. Keep that 4 on the steps list because you're used to that working for you. Then after maybe 2 or 3 weeks, you go, okay, game on. Let me see what I can do here. And maybe you still don't change those 4 steps, but maybe you increase one of the 4 steps. You don't add a step, but you make some adjustments to the existing steps to broaden those a little bit. Take it easy. You'll see once you get used to doing what you do as a small stepper independent of me, then literally there's thousands of things that you can play with, increasing steps, decreasing steps, adding steps, reducing, taking steps off your list once they become habits, or if you simply don't have an interest in them. 5 minutes of guitar every week, and then you're like, I don't really like guitar. Take it off your list. Or 5 minutes of guitar every day, and you've been doing it for a month every day, and you don't even look at your steps list. It's just what you do. Take it off your list. It's already a habit. Good. You don't need it. If you've all of a sudden later realize, I haven't played guitar in 2 weeks, put it back on your list. Okay, I got to bring that back. I was really digging that. It's making me happy. So done. Put it back on. Okay. So that's incredible. Awesome. All right. Anything else before I shut this puppy down? Anything else? Let me know. Oh, okay, cool. Tammy, you're awesome. Enjoy the rest of your Sunday. Week 9, man, seriously, freaking awesome. Hopefully I'll see you next week. All right, email me if you can't make the live Q&A. You're getting down to the crunch time, so if you can't make the next live Q&A, just email support@smallsteppers.com with any questions, and I'll do a live Q&A regardless if anybody shows up, and I'll answer it or I'll answer you via email. Okay, either way, you're going to be all set up. Okay, you're not alone. You've got me to answer questions, and you'll be fine. Just make sure I get the questions. All right, cool. Have the rest of your Sunday be awesome. All right, bye.